I don't feel very good. Pretty sure I'm getting sick, but I'm here to do a wrap up. Let's talk about the second half of January and how it went. The first 2 weeks, I had no idea what I was doing. I DNF'd 3 or 4 books. I can't remember now, whatever my title said. Then I read 3 Travis McGee novels, Bat Crap Insane novel by Fritz Leiber, and a couple of Lois McMaster Bujold books. This second half of the month isn't much different. I started with Masquerade and Lodi, which is book 4 in the Penrick and Desdemona series from Lois McMaster Bujold. It was fine. I think the issue with it is I just got bored. I was listening to the story. It was interesting enough. I love the interactions between Penrick and Desdemona, and I love exploring the world around them. But this one just was okay. I kept drifting off, like my mind would wander, and I couldn't tell if it was me or the book. And then my wife read it as well, and it was the book. It took her like 4 days to finish a 4-hour book just because she got bored too. So it wasn't just me. It's still good, but it's not as good as the first 3. And after that, had to read another Travis McGee novel, and The Dreadful Lemon Sky, Travis McGee book 16. This one is very good. When I initially started looking into Travis McGee, this was the first one I read the premise of. And basically the story is McGee wakes up in the middle of the night to a noise. Someone is on his houseboat. He doesn't know if it's a home invader or what. It ends up being an old friend. And this old friend hands him a bag full of about 100 grand and says, I need you to take care of this for a month. When the month is over, I'll come back for it. You get to keep 10 grand. And he's like, okay, do I get to know any details about why? And she's like, nope. So he takes it. What ends up happening is about 2 weeks later, he sees in the newspaper that she's been killed in a like freak car accident. She basically had a broke down car and stepped out into the road and got hit by a farm truck in the middle of the night. Now McGee is like, this isn't right. This ain't adding up. When she gave him the money, she said, I just want you to hold on to this. If I don't come back for it, give it to my kid sister. She lives in the Northeast. And McGee's like, okay, I can do that. And she's like, you still keep your 10 grand. So he thinks, well, she told me I needed to do it after a month. I have 2 weeks to figure out whether or not her death was accidental. So him and Meyer go to this rural bit of Florida, and a absolutely crazy mystery unfolds, and it's so good. This is like peak Travis McGee. I'm so glad that 16 books into the series we're still getting these absolute bangers. I enjoyed it so much that I immediately jumped into another McGee novel. That is a lie. I was just looking it up. My stuff's a little mixed up on here and my brain's not working. I read The Black Company for the 5th time. Now the reason I read it for the 5th time is Lies Weeping comes out in November, and it's kind of timed just right that I can read 1 Black Company novel a month and then 2 or 3 in November, unless I kind of skip a few or binge a few. What is there to say about The Black Company? I love it just as much now as I did the first time I read it. It changed how I look at fantasy, the same way the book itself changed the way fantasy works. And this time I had a lot of fun just rooting through the nuance of the book. I already know the story, and so I spent all of my time focused on the writing style. And another thing I focused on was how the Black Company is viewed by people outside of the company. You have a bias built in because you're reading Croker's view of the company, and he says at the very beginning that he is biased toward making them look better than they actually are. You get these subtle hints throughout the story of how the Black Company is really seen, and it's pretty terrifying. And when you really think about the way they deal with problems, it's crazy. I mean, they use false flags. They have these terrible sneaky ambushes. They will brutally butcher people to send a message. There's one scene, and this is such a simple little scene, and involves them wanting to hide that they're using magic. They put a dead dude's feet in the fire so it looks like he was tortured just to obfuscate their tactics. They're relentless and ruthless. And it makes sense because when you see the monsters that live in this world, you have to be just as brutal, just as nasty, or more, or you're just going to cease to exist. A really fun thing, I will put a link in the description, is AP from A Critical Dragon had a chat with Steven Erikson where he talks about the first page of the Black Company book and the first page of, I think it's Tortilla Flats by John Steinbeck. I can't remember. He compares them and just how they're both very similar in the way they get things across and their differences. One of the things they pointed out during the Black Company section is this alliteration, which is my favorite thing in the world. I'm an idiot, and alliteration is just like the god tier for me, no matter how stupid it is. There's little number games, and those little number games on that first page are happening while Croker is describing these portents that could or could not have happened, and that, hindsight is 2020, all that stupid crap. Well, one of those portents is true, and it is literally telling you what is going to happen for the first half of chapter 1 on the very first page. Another thing, there's something very late in the book. It has like repercussions for book 2 and book 3 and the Silver Spike. There's a character, I won't say who it is. Basically, later on, they have magical abilities that are obvious. It's a plot point. This man tells you in plain English in this book that person has magical abilities. Missed it the first 4 times. Everyone I've talked to about it since then, they missed it as well. Clint Cook's real sneaky. I'm just blown away by reading this book for the 4th or 5th time or whatever. It's so good. I mean, here I am gushing about it for all of this time when you already know how good it is. I reviewed all 53 of his books. It's S tier. After that, I did go to another McGee novel, and that was The Empty Copper Sea. And The Empty Copper Sea was pretty good. The thing about The Empty Copper Sea is I liked it. It's just that it was lacking that little bit more that I need from a McGee novel. So the thing about the McGee series is this emotional depth and this beauty. And while a lot of the beauty is there in this book, it doesn't have the introspective moments that I expect from a Travis McGee novel. There's a lot of very jaded and annoyed McGee in here, but I don't know, this one was still better than the worst one, which was The Turquoise Lament, which worst being a 3-star read. But yeah, this one's just okay. The story in this one is Van Harder, once a hard drinker, has found religion, but that doesn't keep folks from saying he murdered his employer, Hub Lawless, whose body hasn't been found. Okay, this one, I said all that about being 4 stars. It's still very good. The plot itself and the mystery itself is really good. It's just got that little spark that's missing. I think this would be 4.5 stars. 4.8 stars. I don't know. It's still a good one. Yeah, what ends up happening is Hub Lawless had run like a scam on the town that he was from, and then he died. Or did he? And McGee is hired by Van to clear Van's name. Van lost his ability to have a job. He was like a ship captain. He straight up lost his license. And so this one is good. And I really like all the characters. And like I said, it's missing a little bit. It's good stuff. Maybe it is 5 stars. I think I've just talked myself into it being 5 stars. I'm going to change it on Goodreads right now. Look at that. Power of the internet. After that, I did go straight into another McGee novel. I read back-to-back McGee novels. And here's why. My wife betrayed me. We have been reading them together this entire time. I read 5 of them in 2 weeks. And then told her she needed to read them too, and I would wait. She did 5 in a week, and then we've been reading them together ever since. Now, sometimes she reads the next one first, sometimes I do, and it's kind of fun to see how the second reader enjoys it after getting a little bit of information or feelings about the book from the person that read it first. We agreed not to read more than one a weekend because there's only 21. We were at number 17, and my wife was like, I'm gonna do it. So she did. She started The Green Ripper. And now I've been looking forward to The Green Ripper for months. And the reason I was looking forward to The Green Ripper is because I have heard that it is the most polarizing of the McGee novels. Let's just get this right out there. It is not a McGee novel. The main character is Travis McGee, but this is not a McGee novel. This novel is about grief and revenge and the inability to let things go, and a man being pushed to do things that tarnish your soul. There's a crazy religious cult, a communist plot. Travis McGee is not solving a mystery. He knows what he's looking for, and he goes undercover to find it out, and it goes to some very dark places. I say some of these other books go to dark places, but this one is crazy. The beginning of the book, I was just filled with grief and rage as much as McGee was. And then the middle of the book, I was terrified the entire time. And then the last third of the book is just, I hope you enjoy trauma. This has some of the best realistic fight scenes in any book I've ever read. The Green Ripper is a masterpiece. It also has some of the most realistic trauma from events like that I've ever seen. Seeing the way the events affected McGee broke my heart. This book is fantastic, but you have to read The Empty Copper Sea before you read The Green Ripper. There are almost no books in this series where you have to read them in order or whatever. You can kind of skip around. These two have to be read like that. I say that, but they do a really good job in the beginning of telegraphing why you should care. But in the previous book, you really get the reason why you should care about what's happening in this one. I will go into a much deeper dive on this book when I get to my review of every McGee book, because I'm going to do a video. I don't think I'm going to tier rank them. There's 21. They're all S tier in my book, even the bad ones. We will just be going through every single book giving the premise, my thoughts, all that good stuff. That'll come up later, maybe in like a month, because I only have 3 left, and who knows if I can do just one a weekend. My wife betrays me again. I gotta read another one. After that, I read Startide Rising by David Brin. I'm doing this as a buddy read with Ira from SF Words of Wonder. I'm really looking forward to talking to him about it. So I won't go into crazy amounts of detail here, but this book is very good. There is a reason why this thing won the Hugo, the Locust, and the Nebula Award. I want to make a full review of it because I can easily talk about this book for 15 or 20 minutes. The premise is this takes place about 450 years in the future. Humans have uplifted other species on our planet to sapience. Yes, there is a difference between sentience and sapience. Google it. The one you're looking for is sapience. Dogs are sentient. They're not sapient. Anyways, we have uplifted dolphins and chimps, and we're working on doggies. The premise of the book is humans in their dolphin spaceship, the first of their kind, discovered about 50,000 ships the size of moons. And these are from the progenitor race, the original race that first uplifted other beings. And there's this whole big structure of how the universe works, how sapient beings uplift others and basically put them into like servitude for 10,000 years or something. There's this whole infrastructure on how the universe works, and humans are disrupting that, and now they do something even worse, and they find progenitor ships. So that doesn't go well. They get attacked as they're trying to jump back to Earth. They're the only ones that know the location. They end up having to hide on this planet that no one's been on, according to the Galactic Library, in 100 million years. And so they're crash landed, they're hiding underwater, and they're trying to get the material together and figure out a way to escape. And that's how the book starts. And holy crap, is it good. Like I said, no more details. You got to wait for a full review, and you got to watch SF Words of Wonder so you can really hear about what's going on in this thing. After that, I finished a book I talked about in the previous video, and that was Impresario of Texas, a biography of Stephen F. Austin by Greg Cantrell. It is amazing. It's a 5-star read. Here's the thing though, not all 5-star reads are made alike. I can have a 5-star read like Goodbye Darkness from William Manchester, which are his memoirs on his time in World War II. They are beautifully written. They are heartbreaking, and his ability to make a compelling narrative is just unparalleled. Well, Impresario of Texas is also 5 stars, but it's 5 stars because of its accuracy, which is a little lacking in a lot of William Manchester nonfiction, along with most narrative-driven nonfiction. They don't let the little details get in the way of telling their story, either good or bad, when they're trying to push something, which is fair. You're not going for accuracy when you're writing a pop history book. You're trying to entertain and inform people, get the ball rolling. They can dig deeper later. I totally get it. But this book is written very well. A little dry because this is an academic work, but it's still really good. He does have these moments where I'm like, wow, that is one heck of a way to start off a chapter. Just beautiful stuff. And the thing is this debunks all the crap that I've heard my entire life living in Texas about Stephen F. Austin. He is like a god in the Texas history books I've read. And then in this, he's a man, very normal man, very talented man, especially with diplomacy, but there's still flaws. I greatly enjoyed this. I think that it is a must read for anyone that is interested in Texas history. It is just about a must read for anyone interested in Mexican history. The impact of Stephen F. Austin moving to Mexican controlled Texas cannot be understated. It completely changed the American Southwest into the American Southwest. It was the Mexican Southwest before that. It's such a big deal. And I think that this book is really good for anyone wanting to get into Texas history after reading just the basics like Wikipedia pages or watching crap on YouTube. I think that while it is very academic, it's still got a pretty low barrier to entry, and the notes are something else, man. They're so good. Every little note, it was so hard not to just like stop what I'm reading at the end of a sentence when I see a number and go flip to the back and read the note for it. They're all very good. And that's it for what I read this month. I ended up reading like 11 books, and 4 of them were Penrick novels. 5 of them were McGee novels. This was a very strange month. I read A Spectre is Haunting Texas and Startide Rising for 2 science fiction books and a single fantasy book outside of Penrick and Desdemona, and that was The Black Company, which was a reread. What is this month? It's just ridiculous. Next month, I plan on reading The Gray Man because I accidentally started it last night. I was laying in bed. I went to start a book by Amity Shlaes. She wrote a biography of Calvin Coolidge, which I own, and she wrote The Forgotten Man, a history of the Great Depression. Well, I started the book, The Forgotten Man, and after reading the back, the blurbs and stuff, I'm like, she wrote for the Wall Street Journal and something else, some like neocon newspaper or something, I can't remember. And I was like, well, that's a red flag. Then I start reading the book and I'm like, this is full of red flags. This is some very whack, like revisionist history. I got done with like the intro and part of the first chapter and I'm like, this is stupid. So I looked at the reviews, and the 1-star reviews are from people on the extreme left saying that it's hot garbage and that Amity Schlase can't write. That was another thing, like the book wasn't written very well. And then the 3-star reviews, this is a tip. This is kind of how I look at reviews when I do look at them. Most of the time I don't. The 3-star reviews were from sane people saying, yeah, she makes some decent points, but like a lot of her stuff doesn't have a good source. It's an opinion and it's not written very well. And then the 5-star reads were like, this is the greatest book about the Great Depression ever written. Now let me tell you about Murray Rothbard. And I was like, what is happening right now? There was more than one review like that where someone was like, this book's good. Now let's talk about Murray Rothbard. And it's like, why? And they're like, click on my link to the Mises Institute. And I'm like, I mean, the Mises Institute's cool, but like, why? This isn't about that. So it's whack. I DNF'd it. I'm gonna get rid of the Coolidge book too, because then I went and looked at reviews and people were like, she really likes Calvin Coolidge, but she can't write a biography. I'm gonna get rid of it too. I'll find another one. I'll read his autobiography, and then maybe there will be a biography written by someone a little more not extreme. Let's put it that way. So because of that, I was laying in bed and I have a collection of mystery novels written by women in the 1940s from Library of America. Library of America is amazing. Buy some of their books. It's very good. It has some absolute bangers in it. I didn't realize it had In a Lonely Place from Dorothy B. Hughes until now, so I'll probably read it in there. I don't know yet. The book's too heavy. I know I sound like a weenus saying that, but I don't want to hold the book over my head trying to lay there and relax, go to sleep. My arms go numb. I have like pinched nerves in my elbows. I have to sleep in goofy ways just so I don't wake up with hands I can't feel but are also somehow in pain. So I don't like holding a heavy book while I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep. Well, I bought a Kindle, but my wife is using my Kindle, so I'm kind of screwed until I can buy a Kobo. Anyways, I didn't want to hold a heavy book. I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I gotta read something before I go to sleep. Well, right above my head is where the G's start in my fiction collection on my headboard. Pretty cool. I've got like 14 linear feet of books above and around my head when I'm sleeping. Very peaceful. So I pick up The Gray Man by Mark Greaney, the first book from 2009. I have a paperback with a stupid Netflix tie-in sticker on it. I hate it, but I start reading it. And next thing I know, I've read 90 pages of this book, and I am not a fast reader when it comes to eyes on paper. So not only was I reading faster than normal, I was locked in. I have very bad attention span issues when it comes to paper books, but somehow I was locked in. A lot of it I forgot. It is very America and War on Terror, which makes sense. It was 2009, but very quickly it rolls into taking place in Europe. And the premise for this one is like not the best. Looking at it now, I kind of mixed it in with the later books that are absolutely amazing, but it's still very good, especially for a debut novel in a series. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm gonna read it for way too long before I go to bed tonight, go to work really tired because I got no sleep because I spent all night reading, and then I'm going to finish The Gray Man on audio. So that'll be my first book of February. Then I'm going to read Midnight Black later in the month when it comes out, the newest Gray Man novel. I'm hoping I can go meet Mark Greaney. We'll see. He's on tour, and so there's a place near me where I'll be able to go meet him. After that, I will be reading the last 3 Travis McGee novels in February. The 4th week will probably be Cape Fear because I am keeping the one John D. MacDonald book a week streak alive. I skipped 1 week so my wife could catch up on McGee novels, but I read Condominium, and I'm going to do more Penrick. Maybe only 1 or 2, depends on how good the next ones are, because like the last one kind of made me want to take a couple weeks off, but I've heard Penrick's Mission, the next one is very good, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to read Shadows Linger, book 2 in the Black Company series, because it's my favorite in the entire series, so I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't read it in 5 years, and yeah, I want to read more fantasy and science fiction this month. My TBR is generally left pretty empty so that I can jump around based on whatever I'm feeling at the moment. I have become more of a vibes reader, and it has increased my productivity significantly, so I'm going to stick to that. Yeah, I mentioned I should be making a video soon with SF Words of Wonder. I will share that on like my community thing or whatever here on YouTube, so definitely come check that out when it is posted. And I think that's it. I feel like crap, but I got through this. My brain was working, unlike my body, which is shutting down as I'm speaking. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these or you have any ideas for what I should be reading in February. Thanks for watching, and with that, I'll see you next time.